Hello everyone, Scotia here, and welcome to the 6th chapter review for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 9, the JoJoLands. So this month we have a bit of a shorter chapter, which I don't mind. I mean, obviously I would like longer chapters with more detail, but given where we are currently, we're pretty much at the start of what is going to be either the first major arc or the first major fight of Part 9. But, I don't mind this chapter being a bit shorter. But, so this is Chapter 6 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 9, the JoJoLands, and this chapter is called Jungle Warfare Part 1. So we pretty much start this chapter almost straight away from where we ended Chapter 5, where Jodio and the others have fled into the jungles or the forests outside of Rohan's villa. Jodio was able to defeat Rohan and has taken pretty much everything that Rohan had of worth. He has taken the lava rock, which was obviously the thing that was the most important item out of the things that Rohan had to take, but they also have the diamond. So this first page is basically just Jodio going over in his head what Rohan said at the end of the previous chapter, because it's not complaints, but I definitely feel like at the end of the previous chapter Jodio ended things really on top and really dominant. He completely defeated Rohan and completely fooled and tricked him with no real effort really. Not that that's a bad thing, but very surprising at the very least. But Rohan dropped all those knowledge bombs on Jodio and stuff, and I feel like very much the kind of overall thematic direction of Part 9 is going to, be very closely linked to what Rohan said, in the sense that, when we all read, go back to read Part 9, years from now, and go back to the start, I think very much what Rohan said at the end of the last chapter is going to, be very important. It's going to be oh shit, Rohan said this, and then this happens all these years later. It's going to be that level of kind of, this important speech. But at the time, Jodio didn't really react to it much, and I get it, because they were trying to get out the villa and run off to escape and get back to the car. But now we've gotten the chance here to kind of slow down and breathe a little bit, and Jodio kind of go over his head what did this mean? Because I do like that. I like that we don't know what's really going on here. We don't know what the rock is, we don't know what its source is, what it does, what it's what it's about, what it's going to lead to, and Jodio doesn't know that. And I feel like at this point, us, the reader, and Jodio, we're all on the same page, and I quite like that. I like that, it's not so easily guessable. I have my own theory of, at least the origins of the rock, but I'll get to that when it becomes a bit more relevant to actually, talk about. But yeah, I just like that we're at this point where, Jodio doesn't know anything, we don't know anything, and, it's just good to just enjoy the journey, I guess, and just naturally just see where things go. So while Jodio is thinking about all this stuff, Usagi just stops randomly in the forest to talk about a bird, which I just thought was funny. Just this really JoJo trait where a character will just suddenly just pull out this almost encyclopedic speech about a particular thing that most people, or at least people in that situation, 17, 18-year-olds, wouldn't really know about. I don't know, it always just strikes me as very funny. It's just one of those things. But yeah, but basically Usagi stops to talk about a bird that's rare to the forest or something. Just a little funny moment with him. But as they all kind of take a minute to kind of stop, I guess, Dragona notices that the diamond has fallen out of Paco's backpack again. So obviously this was a very common thing that was happening in the last couple of chapters, where Dragona kept trying to take the diamond and Paco kept trying to take the diamond, but it kept dropping out of their backpacks. So clearly it's still happening and there's no way to stop it, even though they are by this point probably far away from Rohan, and they're all still freaking out a bit. But then I think it's Jodio who first puts two and two together, because he notices that the drawing of Pink Dark Boy that Usagi stole from Rohan has also fallen out of his backpack when they really shouldn't have. And I think it's when Jodio's oh, these things aren't trying to get back to Rohan, they're attracted to the rock. And this is a very interesting thing happening here, because obviously we were so focused on the diamond, there was something up with the diamond, and they were alluding to the fact that Rohan had some, he was the reason for why it kept trying to get back to him. But now we know it wasn't Rohan they were trying to get back to, it was the rock. And this is a theory I was talking about a bit earlier about my health, where I can't remember if I mentioned this in the last video. If I did, then I did. But I definitely think at this point, I think the rock has some kind of link with the Saint's Corpse from Part 7, which is, a very big part of where, it was basically, the Saint's Corpse was basically the reason stands exist, I think, in the Steel Ball Run universe. I can't remember if that's 100% the basis on it, but yeah, anyway, so the Saint's Corpse is a very much important part of that universe, and is a very much important part, definitely the major thing in Part 7. It wasn't so much, a major part of Part 8, but it was referenced a couple times, and I think it was the basis of the Wall Eyes in Part 8, which was the thing that gave everyone in Morio their stands. So yeah, very important part of, parts 7 and 8, the Saints Corpse, and I definitely think it's going to be an important part here. But yeah, at the moment, my theory is that the lava rock has some relation to the Saints Corpse. Either the Saints Corpse was, in the volcano that this lava rock has came from, or something. Maybe that when the Saints Corpse was alive, it went to this volcano. I don't know. We'll obviously have to see, but I definitely think there's some link with it, because for it to be such the center of attraction, I guess, all these items keep trying to go back to, keep trying to move towards the lava rock. It's weird that it's only these items that belong to Rohan and not other stuff like their clothing or other items. It's purely just, it's the diamond, it's the money, it's the drawing, all these things that they took from Rohan, so trying to go back to the rock. But obviously that's a thing that's going to be answered eventually, I guess. But yeah, so very odd. So as Jodio is trying to figure out what's going on here, he moves towards the diamond, but he makes a very rookie mistake because he doesn't look where he's going and walks straight into the string trap laid out by the cats that obviously we know has followed the group into the jungles. But Jodio gets completely, snared up, and he starts swinging from a tree, and it's actually quite brutal because he whacks his head off the ground and starts bleeding. It looks very brutal, and I honestly thought Jodio was going to be out for the rest of the chapter after this, but he seems, fairly fine afterwards. But yeah, obviously the group are very shocked. They're like, what's going on? And then that's when Usagi, who's the only one really earlier who clocked that, this string ability is a result of the cats, he starts freaking out again because he knows exactly what's going on, and he keeps blaming the cats. And yeah, it's a really weird bit with Paco here, where he's like, oh, it's the security system, because obviously Paco thought that the string was Rohan's security system, but Usagi's like, I've already told you, this isn't a security system, we're in the middle of the jungle, this is a stand, the cats are the stand. And then finally, this is when Paco and Dragona are finally, after all these chapters, oh, the cats are stand users, and it's finally, I don't know, obviously we don't know really exactly how much Paco and Dragona and the others are familiar with the rules of stands. Obviously us, we know animals in all shapes and sizes can be stand users, that's nothing new to us. But yeah, I'm just really surprised the reluctance from Paco and Dragona to believe, they thought it was more likely that there was a sentient string that was hard to steal, that was a security system in both a jungle and a house. They thought that was more likely than it just being a stand user. I don't know, very weird to me. But yeah, just a very weird thing that's been bothering me for the last couple of chapters, is just how kind of reluctant those two were in just accepting the fact that, this is a stand user, this is a stand attack, what's going on. But now they finally accepted it. So now finally everyone's on the same page. Everybody knows they're now under attack by a stand. So now that everybody knows that this is a stand attack and, they're actually in danger now, Dragona goes to get Jodio down, but basically walks into a trap themselves as another bit of string appears out of nowhere and starts impaling Dragona. And it's honestly so far there's been quite a bit of body horror stuff in this part, which has been good. It's a nice kind of shake up. It's, and the way it's been done is been quite interesting in terms of, it's not just being done for shock value. I think it's done to just show the viciousness of certain stands. But yeah, Dragona gets absolutely impaled to bits here. Honestly, it looks lethal at times. It literally looks like this string is impaling some of their major organs or such. But basically, Dragona starts going down, and that's when Paco runs over and tries to grab them and take them to safety. But then the string starts going through the both of them and starts stitching them together. Just really the visuals of it are so kind of just yeah, it's body horror. It's grotesque, and it's it's brutal, but it's not so, I said, it's not shock value. It's oh no, this stand is brutal, this stand will fuck you up, if you're not careful. So as Paco and Dragona are starting to get sewn together, and they're not in a great state, Jodio's still swinging from this tree, from the string, they notice that there's actually more bits of sentient string almost swimming up the hill towards them. And then this is when Paco notices that Usagi is gone, and he doesn't know where he is, and he's looking around. And then that's when he looks over and sees that Usagi has seemingly abandoned the group and has already betrayed them by the looks of it, as he has taken all the stuff. He's taken the rock, he's taken the diamond, he's taken the drawing, and he's basically hopped in their car and he speeds off. And at the moment, I am pretty confident that this is a red herring of sorts. I don't believe Usagi is actually betraying them here. Not because I have some major faith in Usagi. I very much think there will be multiple times throughout this part where he does something like this, where it appears he's chickening out, but then he'll come back, or he appears to be betraying them. But I think it's very obvious since the beginning almost, that like Usagi would be the one that, if anybody was to turn on the group and, you know, go and like, go into the business for themselves and betray the group and screw them over, like I think everybody assumed Usagi was the most likely for that. And I don't know, it just seems too on the nose to me, because literally like at the end of the previous chapter, like the last chapter a month ago, we had Rohan tell Jodio like someone in the group is going to betray you, and then like literally the next chapter Usagi seemingly betrays everyone. I don't know. I personally don't believe it. I think it's too obvious. I think, you know, the thing with JoJo is that Araki has never really done the obvious thing, for better or worse. I mean, at times he has. Like, at times it's been able to be, okay, he's going to, you know, this direction is where he's going in. And, you know, it has been right, and that's where it's been going. But at the same time, like, I don't know if it's, like, subverting expectations, but I definitely think, like, a good thing that Araki has, you know, really mastered with JoJo is basically just doing the unexpected. And I think Usagi betraying the group and leaving them behind, I think, is the most obvious thing that a lot of people were expecting. Like, I was seeing polls on Twitter of stuff of like, oh, who's the most likely to be the traitor, and like the vast majority voted Usagi because it's just the most obvious. And I don't know, that in mind, and then the whole line at the end of the previous chapter about like, oh, Rohan saying someone's going to betray them, like it's just too obvious to me. Like it's very unlike Araki to do something that obvious that soon. Like if this was like a couple chapters, like if this was near the end of the fight and Usagi left, then you know maybe. But it's like it's literally the next chapter. Like the previous chapter, Rohan said someone was going to betray us, and then the next chapter, Usagi seemingly betrays us. It's just too obvious to me. So I definitely think he's going to come back in some way. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is, you know, maybe the subverting expectations or, you know, not going for the obvious thing is in the sense that, like, you know, Usagi, he flat out is the traitor and he's flat out betrayed us. I just don't buy it for now, but we'll see how it goes, I guess. I don't expect him to come back for a couple more chapters, really, pretty much until near the end of this fight or this arc. But obviously, once they realise that Usagi's gone, Paco and everybody is just livid. Like, Paco's like, I'm going to beat the shit out of you, even if I have to, you know, go through hell to do it. Like, you're fucked. Like, you're dead, you know, the next time I see you. And then things just keep getting worse for the group. Like, they keep getting attacked by String. Things aren't getting any better, you know. And the sentient String that was swimming up the hill is about to, like, attack them all. And that's when Jodio's like, no, like, quickly, Paco and Dragona, like, crawl under me, like get underneath me right now. And that's when we get my favourite page in this chapter, as Jodio uses November Rain to basically shield you know, him and Dragona and Paco from the sentient, you know, floating String, uses the raindrops to cover them all. What's actually really interesting, that, you know, I think, you know, it does make sense, but I'm surprised it worked, I guess, is that the raindrops from November Rain, like, actually, like, wash away the String. So Paco and Dragona are afraid, you know, the String just kind of, like, flops off and, like, starts to melt. And I think that's what makes Jodio realise, like, oh no, this is actually a stand. Because I guess if it was normal String, the String wouldn't have, like, melted away like that. But then we get to the final page of the chapter as Jodio is still swinging and he's trying to, like, grab onto the tree to, like, free himself. And then we get the last couple of shots here because Dragona sees in the bushes that the cats have arrived and are now looking at them. And then this is where we leave things off. Obviously, now the cats are here and it's going to be, I guess, more of a direct fight with three. You know, now that I think about it, it does make sense that Usagi's gone, because now it's, you know, Jodio, Paco, and Dragona against, you know, the three cats. So yeah, that's basically the end of the chapter. So, you know, without any further ado, let's just get into the wrap up, I guess. So yeah, overall, I quite like this chapter. Like, obviously, like I said earlier, it is a shorter chapter, but I don't mind that. I think for what is basically going to be, you know, part one of a multi-part fight, obviously, I hope it doesn't last too long. I am interested in seeing where the fight goes and all that, and more of these cats, and, you know, find out what the cat stand is called, and etc, etc. But I am also more interested in seeing where we go beyond this. Like, what's the next step once we leave the island, once these cats are defeated? Like, do we meet up with Usagi again if he doesn't come back? Like, where are we going to go with that? What happens with the lava rock? Like, what's the next step? Obviously, we're going to go see Meryl, I assume. But, you know, I'm just very interested in seeing where things go from there. But yeah, for now, I think this was a decent chapter. Yeah, it didn't really need to be this crazy, dramatic, character-driven thing. It was fine. Like, it was, you know, fairly action-paced. We got a bit of, you know, not so much downtime, but we got, like, you know, even in this very brisk chapter, we got a little bit of character stuff with, like, Usagi and the birds and stuff like that. And obviously the good monologues at the start with Jodio kind of going over in his head what Rohan said to him. So yeah, like, all things considered, it was a small chapter, but I you know, I enjoyed it. And yeah, I guess that's the important thing. The main question now, though, is where do we go from here in terms of, me and this channel and doing these reviews? I said at the end of the previous video, I think that I was going to, at least do this one, then I was going to do a poll and stuff. I have already done the poll. It's up on the community channel if you want to go see it. But I'm just interested in seeing what you guys want from these reviews. Do you want me to keep going? Do you want me to, change the format? Do you want me to stop doing them at all? So, if you have an opinion on it, go by all means, go check it out, vote in the poll. I will try my best to do what people want, but at the moment I am leaning to the idea I've had where I've had the thought of kind of like leaving these reviews, stop doing them monthly, but kind of do them more volume based instead of chapter based. So every time a new volume comes out, I will do a longer video, basically like covering and reviewing the contents of that volume. So say for example, volume 2 of JOJOLands is, I guess, like chapters like 7, 8, 9 and 10. Like, I will do a video where I will talk about those chapters in that one video, instead of like doing, okay, so like next month is chapter 7, then the month after is chapter 8, etc. That's what I'm leaning towards. I think that will, you'll get a longer video out of it. It kind of like breaks it up a bit. I think it gives me more chances to do other stuff, during the month. Not that these take up a lot of time or anything, but it's just more time I have to work on other stuff, I guess. But yeah, but like I said, whatever people vote for, the majority, I will try and do it. Like, even if people want me to stop doing it at all, I will definitely, consider that. I think at the very least, this will probably be the last JoJoLands review I will do for the next couple of months. I'm going to at least give it one try with the volume format and see how that goes. If it doesn't work, if people don't like it, I will consider going back to the individual, like, monthly reviews. And if that continues to not really do that great, then I will, I'll just pack it in, and I'll just, I had my fun doing it, but, it's time to stop. So yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes. I am enjoying doing these, but at the same time, like, although this is my channel and I do the things I want to do, at the same time, I am, making stuff for you guys. And if you guys aren't enjoying it or you're not into it, then, that's fine with me. Like, I would rather I make stuff and you guys enjoy it than me make stuff and you guys don't watch it or don't like it, So, like I said, we'll see how it goes. If you have an opinion on this, if you want a specific, format, or just me not do it at all, please go on the poll on the community page, vote in that poll. I will definitely take it into consideration when I make the choice. But yeah, so just like I said, go vote on the poll. Let me know what you want. For now, though, there probably won't be a video for chapter 7. There probably will be a review for that. So, don't worry, don't think, oh, I'm not doing it. Like I said, I'm going to at least give the volume format a try and see how that goes, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, for now, this will probably be a very brief goodbye, Sorry if, that is very disappointing. If you like the monthly formats, I apologize. But, the views haven't been that great. And I'm not a view guy. I'm not like, it has to get this amount of views or else it's a failure. It's just views and comments and likes are basically the only way for me to really gauge what people are liking on the channel. And for the last couple chapter reviews I've done of JoJoLands, they've really not been doing that well. Like, a couple likes, barely 100 views, no comments, and it's like, I have to take it as a sign eventually that, this thing isn't really doing that great, because I have built this channel as a fighting game channel, and to jump from that, I think is a bit, it might be too much for people to ask, I guess. But you know what, I'm happy that I've, been doing this for as long as I have. But yeah, I'm going to stop talking in circles, I guess, and just wrap things up here so I can get editing this. But yeah, just let me know. Like I said, the poll is in the community page of my channel. Please go and check that out. And comment if you have anything specific you want to say in regards to this subject. But yeah, I'm going to leave things here. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.
We await your return, warrior.